Hello everybody, it's Hunter Scott, your MonsterCub, and I haven't done a cooking video in a really long time, so I found a new recipe for a tasty dip that I have made a few times now, and I actually got the recipe from a restaurant I worked at when I lived in South Carolina. Here we are in the Bear Manor kitchen. I finally moved into a new place in southern Fort Lauderdale, and a nice space to film all over the place. You'll be seeing videos of that soon. And today I figured I would give you guys a first look and go ahead and show you something tasty to eat. So here we go. Alright, so for this Queso Verde, you're going to need quite a few components. Some of the stuff you can swap out for other ingredients, but this is how I make it. So you're going to need either whipping cream or reduced fat milk. This is to help blend the cheese together later, make it more creamy. Same thing with the cream cheese. You add this in to give it more of a texture, because you'll be adding in your semi-soft cheeses like this Monterey Jack, this Pepper Jack, and this extra sharp cheddar. You can use regular Monterey Jack, but that's the kind I like anyway. You also need a few green onions for this. These two are about a week old, so I recommend getting some fresher ones than this, but they'll do for what they're there for. Also need a whole regular yellow onion. This one's a little small, but if we use the whole thing, it'll be just about what we need. Also, you need some green chilies or some jalapenos. You're going to need about, I would say, a tablespoon to half a cup of chopped up jalapenos for this. You also need about a tablespoon or so of oil. You really just want to coat the bottom of the pan for when we get started. And you're also going to need spinach. This is baby spinach. You can do frozen spinach or canned spinach. Just make sure that you thaw or you drain the excess liquid off. But you can just chop this up and cook it down in the pan too. And the utensils we'll need for this, we'll need our trusty spatula, a medium-sized saucepan, nice big knife, your measuring cups, and your grater. First step is we're going to go ahead and put oil in the pan, and then I'm going to cut up my onion and start to saute that. So we got our onions here, and our oil. I'm going to get them sauteing and soft. While that's warming up, we're going to cut our green onion, spinach, and our green chilies, or our jalapenos in this case. Ooh. You want about a handful of spinach. In my case, that might be a lot because I have big hands. The best thing to do is kind of try to bunch it together, many leaves on top of themselves. If you buy it frozen or in a can, usually it's already cut up for you. Be sure to lead the food away from your fingers so you don't end up cutting off the tip. You don't necessarily need tiny pieces, but you don't want something that will resemble a salad. So like cut your leaves down accordingly. You don't want any big ass ones though. You can have the stems in there, of course, but like you don't want to have something bigger than this per se, you know? That's still pretty big. So we're gonna cut that up too. Our green onions. My best advice is to cut down by the root first, then work your way up, because it gets softer as you go towards the top. And again, you're just feeding the green towards the knife, away from your fingers. Some of these ends are withered, so I'm going to throw them away, along with the skin and the roots. So as you can see, we got our onions simmering, and we have our spinach, and our green onion, and our jalapenos all chopped up, ready to go. And in a couple of seconds, I'm going to add a tablespoon of flour. In this case, I'm going to use cornstarch to these onions so that they can clump up and be a little more creamy. Stay tuned. What we want to do is we want to get the onions coated in that flour. So once you've got it going, it can start little golden brownish. You're going to reduce your heat slightly, and then you're going to give it a stir one more time, and you're going to add your greens. What makes Queso Verde green is all this stuff that we're adding to it. I'm going to mix these greens together with the onion. We want all this to kind of cook and saute together. Get those flavors going into the oil before we add our cream and our cheese and all that. There we go. Now that's nice and blended. I'm trying to spread it out so it cooks evenly. I'm going to let that go, and I'm going to work on the cheese. Alright, so we're going to cut up our cheese really quick. I'm going to use a nice sized piece of both. Alright, so this is starting to get nice and uniform and a little bit thick. So what we'll do is we're going to add our milk. You're going to need about half a cup to a cup, depending on how runny you want the dip to be. Just let that cook. When we add our other cheeses, it will become more solid again. But this gives the veggies and the onion and all that to cook into the milk, which really binds it all together and makes it green. Stacking these two cheese blocks on top of each other, just making nice little thin lengthwise cuts, so that we can just kind of layer this in one at a time and cook them down. So, if you want, you can crumble them even further from there. That's okay. Just scrape it right off. So we've got some of the cheese down in the bowl. And things are all starting to kind of melt together. Once that's in there, you're going to add your tablespoon of cream cheese. You can do 2, but I usually do only 1. And since this container is about had it, that's all we're going to get. There we go. Got it. Now we're going to add it in. Yeah, it's going to start to turn from green to yellow to white, or at least a greenish white. You want to keep your heat medium here, because if the cheese starts to boil over, the whey will separate from the actual cheese and the water, and you will have a clumpy mess. Just want to make sure all the ingredients are just marrying each other, and you're going to go for one consistency. Now that some of that cheese is melted, we'll add more. I'm going to crumble. And this dip I find is good for any occasion. Could be a football game, could be Halloween party, could be just a snack or something you keep on hand as a condiment. I put this on top of burgers and into stuffed peppers and into, what was the other thing? Oh, tacos, nachos, you know, this will work for all that. You see what we mean by the color. So as you can see, we got our cheese all mixed up here. You should have it on a relatively low setting, 2 or just a low burner or whatever, just to keep it from hardening up, but also so it doesn't separate. And you can just see the different pieces of stuff and how green it all looks when it's blended together. Just remember to stir and really make it homogeneous. Once all the cheese is melted and it looks very uniform, it's ready to serve. I recommend scooping it up, putting it on a plate, using it for chips. You know, just make sure you give it some time to cool down a little bit, otherwise you might burn your mouth. I'm gonna need more chips. Oh, this is so good. Alright everyone, thanks for watching. This is Queso Verde, this has been your MonsterCub. Enjoy.